The Devil Wears Prada. Known to many fans of the Friday night movie. Did you know it's a complete remake of the 1988 film Working Girl? Toshio Okada says the true theme of this movie isn't class, but Lifestage. Even in the same city, your morning routine reveals your stage of life at a glance. Just 3 minutes of the opening morning routine. The bathroom mirror, walk-in closet, silk stockings. Women notice immediately. But men miss the message hidden in the details. And Hathaway's brilliant performance reveals Lifestage secrets. Toshio Okada thoroughly analyzes The Devil Wears Prada through preview and review. Stay tuned.
The Devil Wears Prada, which aired on Friday Roadshow on October 16th. I really love it. It's not sci-fi or anything. Just a typical success story of a girl. And if you ask if it's novel, the movie from the first book in the 1980s, Working Girl about a working woman, is completely a remake of this. It's from 1980. Working Girl, I forgot when it was from. There's a movie called Working Girl, and this is a female version of it. So there's not really anything particularly new about it. The other day, I was wondering what kind of movie it was. I thought I just watched the first 3 minutes. And I watched the first 3 minutes. And then, I just couldn't stop watching it all. And ended up watching it till the end. So, that's interesting. What makes it interesting is not about social class. It's not about social hierarchy. A poor girl succeeds and peaks into the upper class. But it's not about social class. It's about the stage. About life stages, you see. Social class is determined from birth. But a stage in life isn't a class you're born into. It can go up or down for an individual. Even if your income doesn't increase by a single yen, we can suddenly raise or lower our stage. That's what a life stage is. However, to remain at the stage you desire, personal effort is required. What's known in Japan as the high consciousness mindset. Think of it like a stage. However, when Americans use the word stage in daily life, there isn't really a negative connotation associated with being overly ambitious. Instead, it's about how well the details of your life align and match that stage. To remain at the stage you aspire to, daily effort is absolutely necessary. And the easiest way to tell if someone is making that effort is actually through their appearance. Appearance can't be maintained without daily effort. In fact, this is the protagonist Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway has a great face and great style, but that alone doesn't mean she'll be seen as being at a high level. She puts in high-level effort to improve her appearance, which isn't really related to her natural attributes. Through this, her effort becomes clearly visible in this movie. In the first 2 minutes of this movie, her morning routine. In other words, what she does after waking up shows the difference in her level. I'll try to introduce this without spoilers. This is the first title. At the beginning, at the very top. Avant title. It's a foggy bathroom mirror. The bathroom mirror starts with Anne Hathaway briskly wiping it with her hand and brushing her teeth. Andrea, or Andy, the protagonist. Starting from here, the second shot is of skyscrapers. New York's cityscape dramatically appears. The Devil Wears Prada. Plastic. The title Prada, The Devil Wears Prada appears. Now you can see the Manhattan skyline, showing the setting. Living in the same city, showing women with completely different morning routines. Everyone is a woman in her mid-20s working in an office, like Andy. While they have that in common, their life stages are different, showing how mornings can be so different depending on one's routine. The first time Andy's mirror appears is in her room, where the mirror. This is the only way, you know. So she does everything in front of mirrors at this sink. It's not because she's poor. Even if she's poor, she can afford a mirror. But she's living a life thinking she doesn't need a mirror at all. So she makes the audience understand what kind of stage woman she is. Especially for us men, we don't really notice such things. We just think, oh, what a beautiful woman brushing her teeth in front of a mirror. For a working girl, if someone's interested in this, they'll think, ah, this girl. I understand that he's the type who doesn't really notice such things. The differences between men and women are quite interesting, aren't they? Next, unlike Andy, she's a woman with a much higher stage presence. First frame. I'm not entirely sure, but it seems the focus is moving in this scene. A fully open window in an apartment, with Manhattan skyscrapers visible below. In other words, quite significantly, an apartment room located at a height overlooking the buildings. There, a woman wearing underwear while completely naked. I don't close the curtains because I have nothing to hide. Meaning, I don't close the curtains because there are no building windows looking down on me. So they won't be able to see anything. From below, the backlighting would make it impossible to see through when it's bright outside, so I feel safe. And also, I choose not to hide because I look good. The perspective of someone on a high stage. Upper-class people tend to have more skin exposure. And that's part of it. It's about maintaining their style. In other words, they're showing that they never neglect their daily efforts. First, at the window of the previous floor. By previous floor, I mean the curtains are open. A woman wearing a bra. The second shot is of a woman wearing silk stockings. Silk stockings, you see. Silk is easily transmitted. Once transmitted, it can't be repaired, meaning she doesn't commute by train. And she only works in an office. In other words, even in an office, someone with some physical labor would absolutely never wear silk stockings. You can tell what kind of woman she is just by looking. In contrast, there's Andy. Andy pulls out some pants from his dresser. When looking at the pants, he's not checking the colors. He's checking if they're still wearable. He's checking if the race isn't too worn out. Based on the wear of the race, he makes a face like, I can still use this, and puts them on. The next shot shows a different stage of clothing selection. The person in the first frame, the one living in the best location, is standing in front of a walk-in closet. A walk-in closet is essentially a whole room dedicated to being a costume/wardrobe room. Here's a scarf, and another scarf here. Scarves, shoes, bags, and jackets are all laid out. The key point is that everything is in the same place. So you can decide your outfit right there in front of a large mirror, from top to bottom. Sometimes in celebrities' homes, you see walk-in closets filled with just shoes or just bags. That's totally a poor person's approach. There's such a thing as seasonal clothing. And for each season, collecting shoes, bags, and footwear in a walk-in closet, and deciding on an outfit set there, is how the upper class chooses their clothes. And this person seems to be doing just that. The person in the second panel. This person is a bit less wealthy than the previous one. Not having a walk-in closet, but selecting a skirt from their closet. And doing so quite carefully. Sunlight streams through the window. Checking in that sunlight. looking at a mirror taller than myself, selecting which skirt might suit me. Third, it's Andy pulling out a coat. The kitchen window was visible far away. In a dark room, choosing a coat on a wire hanger from the cleaners without even looking at it. It's the one I'll wear today because it's cold. No mirror, not even thinking about matching anything. This is the type of woman you can recognize. This is the daily life of the protagonist, Andy. Next is makeup. Rich women. When you open the drawers, makeup products are lined up. More notably, this silver-framed mirror on the top left. The fact that it's left out means there's a dedicated makeup vanity. This means there's a makeup table in the room. The mirror is silver-framed, which tends to fog up quickly due to moisture. So you always have to keep it polished. The existence of such a thing shows that this person has a really good lifestyle. From there, we see a woman doing eye makeup, with lipstick applied. A woman with lipstick appears. And our Andy. As for the protagonist and Hathaway, it's a bit small, but a lip balm is visible at the edge. She's just applying lip balm. She just reaches out and applies lip balm. Next to it are a notebook and keys. It's a pattern that feels nostalgic now. The key ring only has 2 keys. So that means just the room key and the apartment entrance key. In other words, she lives without a car. The notebook is very small, with a ballpoint pen stuck in it. Notebooks are interesting, and in America, the more executive level you become, the larger the notebooks get. And they turn into hardcover. Maybe because there's more to write, but generally, businessmen who can do their job have notebooks that get bigger and bigger. I never use disposable ballpoint pens like these. Andy's lifestyle is depicted here. Hollywood movies are interesting, especially women's films. The way that person lives, showing that way of life through pictures. In male-oriented films, what kind of car they drive, what kind of alcohol they drink, what posters are on their walls. They're conveying so many different things. In women's films, these small personal items are shown quite purposefully to reveal her life stage, so you can understand her circumstances. From this point, I'm completely captivated, thinking, Devil Wears Prada is really interesting. And that's why I'm hooked. Next, right before leaving the room, just before leaving, she chooses her accessories. The richest person sits by the window with an aroma candle. From the usual accessories, they choose today's candle. This has multiple variations, and they basically don't change it too frequently, because they know exactly what they want. So they choose one from what looks similar. Next, a person of Chinese descent is wearing an accessory on their ear, checking how it looks in front of the ear, confirming how it might appear. In contrast, the third frame is Andy. I'm preparing for work while drinking coffee. My hair is a mess. Can you understand this? My hair is messy, and I'm selecting my best article from my college newspaper days. When I wrote for the college newspaper, an article published in the newspaper. Today, since it's a bit of a secretary job, to showcase that I can do my job best, I'm selecting such a newspaper article. So this, looking at the schedule book, it says HR director, and it says interview, which means I'm choosing my own job. Well, at this point, if it were someone from the other side, this is pretty common. It's an interview scene, which you can understand. And yet, during the interview, these people look like they're just going to work, but they're still conscious of their appearance. This person, during the interview, has messy hair and is only wearing lipstick. At this point, Andy is. You clearly misunderstand what work is. As for Andy, you believe people should be chosen by their substance, not appearance. However, in this movie, appearance is actually proof of daily effort. Past achievements, the work I will do, the substance I have. That was in the past. Daily, currently, right now. How much one is refining themselves. How to continue efforts. How to level up oneself. The first thing to present to someone is, well, appearance, right? Going to an interview without knowing this. So Andy is about to have a tough time. The opening theme song is by KT Tunstall. A song called Suddenly I See. With Suddenly I See, meaning did you suddenly understand? Her face is like a world map, a lyric describing her beauty radiating light. I suddenly realized, this is what I want to become. How important it is. About Meryl Streep, whom I'd meet later. Her intensity, personality, almost monster-like character. Overwhelmed by her talent and professional skills. Andy's future destiny of wanting to be just like her. And why her face is like a world map is that. The song's theme and content are connected. Actually, it's very apparent in her appearance. If humans are about the content, then the medium that expresses that content is the appearance, right? It's similar to what we choose. Everyone now, if they say Mobile Suit Gundam or Future Boy Conan, are unwatchable because the art is old. I think it's about the content, not the looks. Well, whatever. Not just the face. The appearance. In other words, how much effort someone puts into their appearance daily creates their world. That's the theme of the song, so to speak. So, next. I'm heading out. Like that. Andy kissing her boyfriend. The cut before this one was a scene with various women putting on shoes. And they were all wearing high heels or stilettos. In comparison, Andy is slightly lifting his leg. The shoes here, they do have a heel, but they're really dull shoes. He's kissing his girlfriend, and the photo pasted directly on top. It's also a direct photo paste. Not even framed, in fact. It means there's absolutely no intention to beautify everyday life. The view outside the window is just a brick wall. So basically, he's living in that kind of room. It's near Manhattan, but the wall is right outside the window. Which tells you what kind of room it is. My boyfriend is reading a newspaper right now. And there's a crossword puzzle in the newspaper he's reading. In other words, he's not reading the Wall Street Journal. A male. This person is about to go to Babe's, which is somewhat tasty in New York. A pretty down-to-earth restaurant called Babe's. I want to grab more chances and move up. If you want to grab chances and move up, the newspaper you read should be not a crossword puzzle newspaper, right? It should be the Wall Street Journal. And people would see that. My boyfriend reads the kind of newspaper, and it creates a structure of complaint. It's all a sign of a lower class. Next is the breakfast scene. Isn't it interesting? Really, you know. I'm not really conscious of ranks or stages. If I were, I wouldn't look like this. And I wouldn't be happily wearing a Duff Beer shirt. But watching The Devil Wears Prada, I was absorbed in the movie's values. That's right. Saying this guy is no good. That's right. Or this woman is better. And in the end, it comes down to love. Which is what makes the movie devilishly interesting. Breakfast time. The first person first takes the served fruits, yogurt, and pours cereal directly into a Pyrex glass container. And why use a Pyrex? Pyrex has measurement markings, strictly managing how much they're eating. In other words, they're managing their own meal. This person has the most variety. Next, move exactly 8 almonds to a separate plate and eat them with coffee. Having a meal consisting only of nuts is something Michael Jackson used to do, and apparently Azuma from Shontai does it too, which seems to be a habit of high-profile people. Having a breakfast of just nuts. Then, picking up a bagel with plenty of cream cheese from a local bagel shop. Eating it while walking. The fourth one is eating while walking. The stages are getting increasingly different here. Some might wonder if this gives you strength, or if breakfast gives you power. As was mentioned in the comments earlier, these guys are generating their power this way. The underlying strength of American history is terrifying. So, at first, oh, well, you know, wearing Prada. The Devil Wearing Prada, in terms of social hierarchy. I realize this scene depicts a stage, probably due to differences in their apartments. The top one is the most successful, wealthy-looking woman. After leaving the apartment, I'm going down the stairs. And there's a porch on these stairs. The porch exists because there used to be a doorman. Well, from the apartment, you know. The apartment entrance is about 1 meter. Well, it's raised about 70 centimeters, with just 3 or 4 steps from there. There's no need to add a porch here. But the reason for having a porch is that in the past, a doorman used to be stationed there. Though they're no longer around, people still live in houses with porches. Look around you. There are no shops at all, which means this is an upscale residential area, a neighborhood dedicated to housing. Next, a wealthy woman emerges from her room. There are shops, but they're high-end specialty stores with large, bright windows. There are absolutely no vulgar signs. So, this place doesn't have a porch. He comes out from an entrance with just a handrail. He'll definitely aim for an apartment with a porch in his next move. Third, this is Andy's apartment. Andy's apartment not only lacks a handrail, but the entrance has only 2 concrete steps. And these 2 concrete steps are crumbling. These are signs of a bad living space. The apartment door is left wide open. The previous 2 apartments have doors that close when you enter or exit. And they have a security system that locks automatically. Andy's apartment has a door left wide open. And you can see how bad that is. More than the open door, the dirtiness around these stairs shows how cheap the rent is, and maybe the slightly cheap look of the neighboring store. So, what I was thinking here was, is this the stage of this anime? And whether I realized it was showing a stage. It's actually about the direction these 2 are facing. The 2 on top are facing left when leaving the house, right? This is no coincidence. And the first reason is that she's looking for a taxi. In America, cars drive on the right side. So the taxi that comes in front will always approach from her left side. That's why she's looking for a taxi. Oh, not subway commuting, but taxi commuting. I thought, I see. But that's not all. Manhattan Island is long from north to south. From around the area north of Central Park towards the north. Uptown, where high-rent homes of the upper class continue. The business district is in the business town, downtown area. So they commute from north to south. In contrast, the protagonist Andy lives nearby. He commutes by subway, from slightly south to the north. Their commute directions are opposite. They Because I commute from north to south. I'm looking for a taxi facing left and heading south. This area is definitely not a coincidence. The way multiple characters are drawn like this, I found that really impressive. Adding these little geographical trivia details is what makes Hollywood movies interesting. Ultimately, racial teasing is difficult to do, so they show stage differences through actions. If you don't show these little details, it'll become a problem later. The way they transition is incredible. And then, the city where Andy lives appears. And it's just full of trashy signs. There are Chinese restaurants and liquor stores. In other words, it's a bad neighborhood. In high-end residential or shopping districts, you'd never find a liquor store on the first floor. Something like that. Separating alcohol from everyday life. Drinking alcohol only at parties. On their side of the stage is the mindset of the upper-class people. The children will soon walk in a group to school. Walking to school in a group means their parents don't drive them to school. In New York, this is also considered a behavior of the lower class. So, one way is written, but this means a road where both sides are one way, which implies the road is narrow. This means Andy lives in an area with such narrow roads. Another thing I found interesting is, though it's a bit hard to see, look here. You can see the emergency stairs on top of the building, right? This is a characteristic of low-rise buildings. The reason the emergency stairs are on the front of the building's entrance is because they can't be installed at the back. This is because the backs of the buildings are right next to each other.